Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. So the next project I am planning on doing is making some bucket hats. I'm thinking about making these for stocking stuffers, so I've got a couple to make. I printed the pattern off of Sweet Red Poppy. I will put the link to that below. There is quite a few free patterns out there on how to do bucket hats. I liked this one because it had a few sizes. So I'm going to use these fabrics on the outside, Coca-Cola for my dad and the Dove Beer fabric for my brother-in-law. So I'm going to keep these simple and line it with some black homespun. So you need about a ½ meter of each of your outer fabrics and then a ½ meter of lining and some stiffener. Well, I've pinned the first lot together. I folded the fabric in half. I was considering doing a black lining fabric, but I might actually have more than enough fabric to do both inside and outside in the Coca-Cola fabric. So I'll just see how I go. But at the moment I'm cutting 2 of each of these at each time, and then if I've got enough I can cut, because I need 4 of these 2 pieces, and I think I would have enough to maybe bring them here. If I don't, I can always substitute in the black for the liner, but if I've got enough, I will make it all out of the Coca-Cola. If you're planning on doing 2 different fabrics, ½ a yard, ½ a meter is more than enough. Like I said, I've got ½ a meter here, and I'm thinking it might even be enough to do all of it in the one fabric. But I will cut these ones out and then see if they fit, if I can fit these 2 again, or if I'm going to need to grab the black. Well, it's close, but I can't quite fit out the last 2 pieces that I would need if I was going to do the whole hat inside and outside in the Coca-Cola fabric. As the hat's lined, I am going to use black fabric to line it, and I'm going to do it on the mid band, so you know you're only going to see it when you take the hat off and look at the inside of it. Now that I have my pattern pieces all cut out, the next thing I need to do is duplicate these with some interfacing. Well, I've got the main fabric, the liner and the interfacing all cut out for my 2 bucket hats. Next I will be ironing the interfacing onto the main fabric and the liner, and then we'll start sewing together. Alright, so a lot of you have probably used iron-on stiffener before, but for anybody who hasn't, when you get your stiffeners or interfacing, whatever you call it for you guys, you'll notice that there's 2 sides to it. One basically has glue on it. To tell which side has the glue on it, it's either going to be the bumpier side or the shiny side. And you want to make sure that you really do know which side has got the glue on it, because you don't want to be putting the glue on your iron. What I like to do is I like to get a piece of scrap fabric. Again, it's because I do not want to have glue on my ironing board cover. Then I will get the fabric that I'm ironing onto, and then I will double and triple check that I have got the right side down. I'm putting the glue side of the interfacing to the wrong side of my fabric. And I'm just going to get my iron and give it a wee iron. And what you are doing at this point is heating up that glue so it bonds to your fabric. So there we go. And we're going to do that to every piece of fabric that we have, basically just to make it a little bit thicker, a little bit more stiffer. Now that I've ironed all my interfacing onto my fabric pieces, we're going to start sewing. The first pieces that we're going to sew together is going to be the brim, and we're just going to start off by putting 2 together and sewing down the side seams. I am using a 1/4 inch seam allowance on this one. Now that we've done our seams, we'll iron it open. Now that we have sewn our pieces of fabric to create the brim together, and we've pressed our seams, we are going to turn one in the right way. We're going to slide it inside the other one, and start pinning them. So we're now going to make our 4 pieces of brim together. The words are eluding me today. So first I'm going to line up the seams, and then we're going to put pins on the outer edge because this is the seam that we are going to sew next to create our brim. So we're pinning our fabrics right side together and on the outer edge of the brim. Next I will sew a 1/4 inch seam allowance around here. If you had some pinking shears, this is where I'd use it now to cut the edge here. Unfortunately I don't have any. I don't even know if they make left-handed pinking shears. If you do know and you know what brand it is, pop it in the comments below so that I can check them out. But because I don't, I'm just going to use my standard scissors and I'm just going to snip into this edge, because the next step will be to turn it in the right way. Now that I have clipped the edge of my fabric, I'm going to turn it in the right way and iron it. So probably going to take a bit to iron the seam open. Get it nice as round as we can. So I'm just going to roll the seam a little bit so that I can get it to really round and be nice and close, folded nice and close to where we want it. And then just press it. A few ways out there how people like to push their seams and stuff, but this seems to be working for this one, so I'll just keep going around with that. We're now going to start sewing some lines onto the brim. I'm going to do them at about 1 centimetre apart. There we go, and that's what it looks like with all the lines in there. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rounds in there. So we'll pop this piece aside. So with our next piece of fabric, I've got the outside fabric and the liner. Just going to show you with the liner what we're going to do. We're going to put right sides together, line those 2 sides up, and we're going to set for a 1/4 seam allowance. We're going to sew down the short edge on this side. I'll also do that to the other side. Then repeat the same steps with our outside fabric. Next we will be pinning the top of our hat to the main fabric. So I folded the fabrics in half to find the midway points, pop some pins into them, just to give me an idea on getting the fabric nice and even as I folded around. As I pinned them together, I did think about the direction of the fabric and what I wanted to be the front of the hat. Now that that's all pinned together, I'm going to repeat the same step for the liner. Now both of them are pinned together, we'll go back to the sewing machine. We are sticking to our 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're slowly going to go around the top of that hat. So that's the first one done. That's going to be our liner. So that is the liner bit done. I will sew up the other one and then I will clip both of the seams. Now that I've got both of those done, so I've got them sewn up and clipped, I'm going to grab the main outside fabric and the brim. We're going to pin those together. So just like with the hat with the centre and the top, just find our points. Got one point there and there, and do the same on the hat. So bring those two seams together, going out and finding the halfway, bring my seams together, go out and find the halfway. Then I will line up the seam with the seam. Okay, then we're going to have to turn this one inside out because we want right sides together. So turn this one in the right way and these right sides together. Then if your brim has a right side or a wrong side, that's when you want to choose that now, so that you can pop there. I don't think this one really does. And just again, or a front and a back, just have a wee think about that. If you can, at this point, have a wee look, make sure that it's, that everything's lining up the way that you kind of want it to, that your pictures are up the right way, that your front and back is looking how you want it to look before you go ahead and do lots of pinning. But I'm happy, so I'm going to start pinning. And again, I would say use a reasonable amount of pins. And again, it might be a little bit hard to negotiate it in, so just stretch your fabric into place at this point. Might find that you have to wiggle backwards and forwards a few times to get it to fit. So that's a 1/4 of it. I'm going to do that all the way around and then we'll come back and start sewing. Yeah, all pinned in. But at this point I'm going to up my seam allowance to 1 centimetre because I want to make sure that if there's any variations between the two sides of my brim that I catch it all. This isn't going to affect sizing of the head, so it will be fine to have a bigger seam allowance here. Right, so my next plan is to put the liner onto the main hat. So still the same thing with the pinning, making sure we're finding our quarter spots, the hat and the liner. There we go. And we're going to put the inside of the hat to the liner. So pop it in there so that we're then again going to have our right sides together and pin them up. So we'll be looking like this, and we'll do the same again. We'll pin it all the way around. So the seam, the only difference we're going to do this time is we are going to leave a gap to turn it in the right way, and then I'm going to finish it by hand sewing that gap down. I think that's the tidiest way of doing it. The one thing that I would say is make sure that you've got your previous seam up so that you are at very least sewing on the inside of that. So when I'm sewing my liner on, it's on the inside of my seam. So you should be able to see there, I've just done the seam inside the last one, and that way it's caught everything together. You're going to turn inside out through the little gap here. I think I might have left it a little small, so I might go and get my unpicker and just clip a few stitches. Sorry, we just ran out of battery, so we will continue to turn the hat on. We'll very carefully just turn the hat on through. Almost there. Alright, so that is our liner. So all I need to do to finish this off is hand stitch there and iron up my hat, and that is my bucket hat. So I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to go and create a few more of these. I ended up making 4 bucket hats in total for my dad, my brother-in-law and my 2 nieces. They really turned out cool, and I think I'll make a couple more for the family. If you'd like to see more contents from me, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.